When Xiao Yan's faint laughter reached Yin Yao's ears, the latter's pupils contracted slightly. Then, an immense wave of anger turned into a massive, surging torrent of spiritual power, sweeping out from Yin Yao's body. The earth trembled violently within 1,000 miles, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth began to collapse. Say what you just said again. Yin Yao's cold gaze fixed on Xiao Yan. At this moment, his heart was undoubtedly filled with killing intent. Over the past tens of thousands of years, the Primordial Divine Clan had contributed more than a third of the reinforcements to the lower dimensions, and their ancient heaven-reaching Python clan, as part of the Primordial Divine Clan, had certainly paid its dues. Yet now, receiving such a response from a lower dimension breakthrough, someone who had broken through a dimensional barrier, was like being slapped hard across the face. We, the lower dimensions, certainly remember the help the Primordial Divine Clan has given us. However, I believe the so-called merit is probably not yours to claim. Xiao Yan looked at Yin Yao in front of him and said faintly. At the same time, an immense surge of spiritual energy erupted from his body, and in an instant, the surrounding area of 10,000 feet was filled with surging winds and thunder. Xiao Yan didn't believe that someone who flaunted their accomplishments like a token would genuinely offer help to the lower dimensions. However, Xiao Yan was unaware that within the Primordial Divine Clan, there was indeed a faction that believed there was no need for such extensive assistance to the lower dimensions. For tens of thousands of years, they had grown accustomed to living in luxury, viewing their aid to the lower dimensions as a form of charity, like the Divine's care for mortals. Tong Dan and Yin Yao supported this faction. Indeed, there's no need to be so kind to you lower dimension people. The cold, murderous words came from Yin Yao's mouth. In the next instant, he suddenly stepped forward. His overwhelming spiritual power surged, and his figure disappeared. Buzz. The space in front of Xiao Yan distorted, and Yin Yao's figure materialized. Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed slightly. Indeed, the speed of an Earth Supreme was terrifying. The gap between a 9th grade Supreme and an Earth Supreme is vast. Let me show you just how great the difference is. Yin Yao sneered as he looked at Xiao Yan. At the corner of his mouth, a cruel smile appeared. At the same time, a terrifying fist containing destructive power was sent crashing toward Xiao Yan. Is that so? Xiao Yan, instead of retreating, advanced to meet Yin Yao's incoming destructive fist. A torrent of blazing fire surged out from his body, and at the same time, his fingers, glowing with fire, formed into a fiery fist. The intense heat spread from Xiao Yan's fist. Boom! Xiao Yan's fire fist collided directly with Yin Yao's destructive fist. This was Xiao Yan's first time confronting an Earth Supreme in a direct clash. When the two forces collided, the resulting shockwave caused the space to collapse. The ensuing shock sent tremors through the earth, causing it to crack like crumbling tofu. Bang! The force from the destructive fist exploded, and both figures were sent flying out from the collision center. The terrifying power pushed Xiao Yan back tens of thousands of feet, and the remaining energy caused ripples to spread across the space. On the other hand, Yin Yao was only pushed back a few thousand feet. The power of an Earth Supreme was indeed far stronger than that of a 9th grade Supreme. Seems like you're quite the fire expert. Yin Yao grinned as he looked at Xiao Yan's fiery fist wrapped in the blazing flames. After his words fell, a surge of overwhelming gray flames erupted from Yin Yao's body, forming a towering fire pillar. The terrifying heat from this fire caused Xiao Yan's eyes to narrow slightly. He immediately recognized that the flame power he was now witnessing was the same force that had been present in Yin Yao's previous attack when he had stopped Yin Yao from assisting He Yuan Yun. Xiao Yan had already known that in this great thousand world, there existed a list known as the 100 Million Flames ranking. The gray flames currently enveloping Yin Yao looked like drifting smoke, capable of infiltrating every crack. Their temperature was hundreds of times higher than the initial Emperor flames, capable of burning mountains and boiling seas. This was the 43rd ranked flame on the list, called Fireworks. As the gray fireworks spread out from Yin Yao's body, countless blazing flames began swirling around Xiao Yan. How is this possible? To think, he can control so many heavenly flames at once. Seeing the spiraling heavenly flames around Xiao Yan, Yin Yao was shaken. As someone who also controlled a heavenly flame, he knew firsthand that typically, these flames had different attributes, which naturally caused them to repel each other and be incompatible. Merging two different heavenly flames was an almost impossible task, let alone the 26 heavenly flames Xiao Yan was controlling. It must be his cultivation technique. Yin Yao quickly realized the explanation for what he was witnessing. He had seen similar records in ancient texts within his clan. Among the great thousand-world supreme races, there existed a cultivation technique that could merge various powerful flames. With such a nearly god-defying technique, one could refine two or more heavenly flames at once. But how could someone from a lower dimension possess the techniques of those supreme races? This is quite interesting. You've got me curious about your technique. Yin Yao's eyes gleamed with excitement, and a fighting spirit surged within him. Yet, hidden beneath that excitement was a faint hint of jealousy. But don't worry. I'm a member of the Primordial Divine Clan. I won't kill you, though. Some pain is inevitable along the way. You really think highly of yourself? Upon hearing Yin Yao recognize his cultivation method, Xiao Yan sneered coldly. Then, his hand quickly formed a seal, activating the burning decision technique within him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As Xiao Yan's hand seals changed rapidly, the 26 heavenly flames circling around him gathered together. Although none of these flames were ranked in the top 100 of the 100 million flames ranking, their combined power, due to their sheer number, was already as formidable as the top 50 flames. Boom! A colorful wave of flames spread from Xiao Yan, and a figure completely white in appearance appeared before him. This figure was the manifestation of the 26 heavenly flames. Its fiery presence rivaled that of Yin Yao's fireworks. Truly a remarkable technique, Yin Yao murmured, impressed. Typically, in the Great Thousand Worlds, for flames or lightning to gain intelligence, one needed to be at the supreme level, and to transform into a humanoid form required reaching the Earth's supreme level. Although Xiao Yan didn't possess Earth's supreme power, his mastery over many heavenly flames gave him strength comparable to an Earth Supreme. Do you really think your flames can compete with me? The gap between Earth Supreme and Ninth Grade Supreme is something you can't comprehend, Yin Yao grinned, his palms slowly rising. As he did so, the surrounding spiritual energy surged, and an enormous mountain appeared in the sky. Phenomenon of heaven and earth. Boom. The mountain descended, crashing toward Xiao Yan below. The earth cracked open beneath the immense pressure of the spiritual energy, and the space collapsed. Xiao Yan remained floating in the air, gazing at the mountain descending from the sky. This technique, using pure spiritual energy to manifest a phenomenon of the heavens, was certainly something only those at the Earth's supreme level could wield. However, if Yin Yao thought he could easily suppress him, he was gravely mistaken. Just how powerful is an Earth Supreme? Let me experience it firsthand, Xiao Yan declared, without the slightest hint of retreat. His body moved, charging directly at the enormous mountain of spiritual energy. Heavenly Flame Plaza. A deep voice rang out from Xiao Yan's throat, and the white figure in front of him erupted with an overwhelming surge of fire. The entire world transformed into a fiery sea. In that sea of flames, a massive white plaza emerged, and 26 enormous stone pillars stood proudly. Each pillar had a fierce heavenly flame atop it. Ancient ruler. Xiao Yan's commanding voice echoed through the heavens, and the flames from the pillars shot downward, gathering in the center of the vast plaza to form an enormous fiery ruler. The enormous ancient ruler of heavenly flames stood suspended in midair, and beneath it, Xiao Yan let out a sharp shout. As his voice reverberated, the ancient ruler of heavenly flames surged forward, carrying a sea of blazing flames, hurtling straight towards the spiritual energy peak in the sky. Then, the two earth-shattering forces collided with a deafening crash. Boom! The moment the massive fire ruler collided with the towering spiritual energy peak, the entire world was swept up in violent wind and thunder. The fractured space collapsed, and the spiritual energy peak began to emit rising white mist as the fire sea engulfed it. The two colossal forces seemed to be at a standstill in the sky. Suppress it. Seeing that Xiao Yan had managed to block the spiritual energy peak, Yin Yao was taken aback. His eyes narrowed, and gray spiritual energy, covering the sky and blocking the sun, surged from within him. The suppressive power of the spiritual energy peak instantly intensified. Break it! Feeling the immense pressure coming from the spiritual energy peak, Xiao Yan's shout once again echoed through the heavens. The fire sea on the ancient ruler of heavenly flames erupted wildly, waves of towering flames enveloping the spiritual energy peak. Below, the ancient ruler of heavenly flames exploded with a burst of white light. Boom! The terrifying flame power crashed into the spiritual energy peak, causing cracks to spread across the entire peak under Yin Yao's astonished gaze. Then, a massive beam of white light pierced upward from beneath the spiritual energy peak, soaring into the sky. The spiritual energy peak was finally shattered. Swish! From the ruins of the broken spiritual energy peak, a figure shot upwards like a bolt of lightning. Black flames swept across this figure, their terrifying power seeming to devour everything in their path, enveloping the shattered pieces of the spiritual energy peak. Within the boundless black flames, Xiao Yan stood suspended in midair, his eyes fixed on Yin Yao in the distance. A sinister grin spread across his face, and a chilling voice, sharp enough to make Yin Yao's pupils contract, rang out. Since a 9th grade supreme can't defeat you, how about this? As Xiao Yan's words reached Yin Yao's ears, the latter saw that the black flames in midair had completely consumed the spiritual energy peak. The immense power that had formed the peak surged like a tidal wave into the white figure before Xiao Yan, which then entered Xiao Yan's body. Boom! As the terrifying spiritual energy was absorbed by Xiao Yan, violent waves of energy surged out, tearing through the world. Wind and thunder howled, and the entire earth trembled. Feeling the ferocious energy coming from Xiao Yan, Yin Yao's expression changed, and a look of horror appeared on his face. A voice filled with disbelief escaped his lips. Impossible! He's attempting to break through to Earth Supreme. This guy, he's actually trying to reach Earth Supreme. In the tempest of wind and thunder, Yin Yao's expression twisted in shock as he witnessed Xiao Yan's power. A voice full of disbelief escaped his lips. Boom! An incredibly terrifying energy wave swept across the world, causing surrounding mountains to crumble. In midair, Xiao Yan stood motionless. His body appeared unchanged on the surface, but only he knew the catastrophic disaster brewing within his supreme sea. The immense spiritual energy peak shattered into countless fragments, falling into Xiao Yan's supreme sea, stirring up waves of immense spiritual energy that turned his normally calm supreme sea into a raging storm. The danger of the supreme sea shattering surged in Xiao Yan's heart, but he knew that the true catastrophe had yet to come. Heh, I haven't even truly begun to fight you, and you're already playing at suicide. From the distant sky, Yin Yao looked at Xiao Yan, who was caught in this terrifying tribulation, and gave a faint smile. Breaking through to Earth Supreme was not a trial that could be compared to ordinary tribulations, which was why so few Earth Supremes existed in the world. Although I know you will definitely fail, I still want to personally send you on your way. The cold, menacing words echoed from Yin Yao's mouth. At the same time, an overwhelming gray fire erupted from his body. Yin Yao was very clear that Xiao Yan's idea of using the power of a phenomenon of heaven and earth to break through to the Earth Supreme was utterly laughable. Did he really think that the Earth Supreme could be reached with such a trivial amount of power? Rumbling. The sky was covered by an immense tidal wave of gray flames, sweeping toward Xiao Yan. The force behind it was enough to instantly kill a half-step Earth Supreme. Yin Yao intended to let Xiao Yan think he could break through to the Earth Supreme, only to strike him down when his own powers were unstable. Whoosh! However, just as the towering gray flames surged forward, Xiao Yan, not far away, grinned, his figure leaping toward the oncoming tidal wave of gray fire. Seeking death. Yin Yao was momentarily stunned when he saw Xiao Yan charge directly into the oncoming flame wave. Then, a cold laugh escaped his lips, accompanied by a mocking expression. This flame was one of the top 50 on the 100 million flames ranking. Its power was not the same as spiritual energy, It was pure, ultimate firepower. While Xiao Yan's earlier absorption of a phenomenon of heaven and earth, and using that spiritual energy to break through to Earth Supreme was barely understandable, absorbing firepower. Could that still help him reach Earth Supreme? Moreover, the force of this fire wave was far beyond the spiritual energy peaks from before. Whoosh! Xiao Yan's figure streaked across the sky. With a mocking smile on Yin Yao's face, he dove straight into the overwhelming fire wave, disappearing completely within. Boom! Inside the monstrous fire wave, Xiao Yan's figure sped through, surrounded by a dazzling array of multicolored flames, forming a protective shield around him. He watched the surging gray fire around him. The sheer intensity of the pure fire power made the surrounding space begin to show signs of melting. No wonder this fire ranked among the top 50 on the 100 million flames ranking. Now that's a fine fire. Xiao Yan licked his lips, his eyes burning with fervor as he gazed at the gray fire around him. At the same time, a white figure emerged from his body. How is it? Can you eat it? Xiao Yan asked, looking at the white-robed figure ahead. The figure was now the fire spirit of all the heavenly flames in his body, and its form resembled Xiao Yi, the pure lotus demon fire from the Do-Chi continent. After the battle between the two emperors, the baby fire spirit had grown into an adult. Xiao Yan had always used it as the main fire spirit for all his flames because of their exceptional bond. But now, Xiao Yan faced another dilemma. His supreme sea was in turmoil, and even his meridians were sending waves of agonizing pain. Xiao Yan pointed to the surrounding sea of gray flames. I'll deal with the supreme sea. You handle this. This isn't its true form. This fire is easy to consume, Xiao Yi said. How long will it take? Xiao Yan asked. 3 minutes, Xiao Yi replied. In that case, let's see who is faster, Xiao Yan grinned. He then began forming a series of hand seals, sending a mysterious wave of energy that transformed into a beam of light and entered Xiao Yi's body. At the same time, Xiao Yan's low and cold voice echoed out. Burning decision, refine. As long as he prevented the supreme sea from collapsing and absorbed the phenomenon of heaven and earth along with this fire wave, Xiao Yan was confident he could break through to Earth Supreme. Buzz. A terrifying pulling force surged through the fire wave, forming overlapping barriers that slowly severed Xiao Yan's connection to the outside world. Meanwhile, high above the fire wave, Yin Yao stood in midair, his arms crossed over his chest. Watching the fire ocean below, he believed Xiao Yan's actions were no different from seeking death. Yin Yao's brow twitched, and a cold smile curled at the corner of his lips. In his perception, Xiao Yan's aura was rapidly diminishing. People from the lower dimension reaching the 9th grade supreme at such a young age are already considered top-tier geniuses. It's truly a pity. Sensing Xiao Yan's now vanished aura, Yin Yao let out a cold laugh, then shifted his gaze to the battlefield far away, hundreds of thousands of miles in the distance, where a far more terrifying clash was taking place. Swish! Yin Yao glanced at the roaring sea of flames behind him before slowly turning back. His figure surged forward at an incredible speed, tearing through the air in an instant, covering thousands of miles in mere moments. Having dealt with Xiao Yan, his next task was to join forces with Tongdan to confront He Yuan Yun. While Tongdan alone was more than enough to defeat He Yuan Yun, if they worked together, they could defeat him even faster. After all, once He Yuan Yun was defeated, this battle would essentially be over. The victors would be them. At the same time, hundreds of thousands of miles away, the once vast and endless mountain range had been completely reduced to a vast wasteland. The scale of destruction was astonishing, and high in the air, two massive figures were clashing with shocking force. The shockwaves from their collision rained down, leaving immense craters on the ground below. Roar! The enormous dark golden celestial python, with its massive body spanning tens of thousands of feet, slithered forward, causing the very space to collapse as it moved. He Yuan Yun's gaze was fixed on the figure opposite him, and with a fierce swing of its tail, the space itself was torn apart by the shockwave. You're still lacking. From the other side, Tongdan hovered in midair, watching the giant python tail fall with a cold smile. He then pointed his finger, and a vast sea of spiritual energy surged, forming a massive finger that collided with the enormous python tail. Boom! The collision between these two colossal beings sent a terrifying energy ripple through the air, shattering the surrounding space like glass. The giant finger was destroyed in the explosion, and the massive python tail was sent flying. The entire colossal celestial python rapidly shrank, transforming into a dark golden figure clad in a long robe. Yuan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, gazing at Tong Dan before grinning. I once sparred with the fifth holy son, that battle-crazed man. He seems stronger than you now. Looks like your title of fourth holy son is a bit overrated. Tong Dan's gaze slightly tightened at the words, and then a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Does it matter to you whether I'm fourth or fifth? You're laughing at me for being fourth, yet you can't even defeat the fifth? Ding! As Tong Dan's soft laughter echoed, a terrifying aura that made the entire world tremble enveloped him. The level of this energy was already at the peak of Earth Supreme, and the strength he had used against Yuan earlier had been only a fraction of his true power. Since you've gone through the trouble of provoking me, I'd feel bad not satisfying you a little, said Tong Dan coldly. Although he appeared calm, as the fourth holy son, being provoked like this by another holy son was naturally frustrating. Seeing Tong Dan unleash his full power, Yuan's face showed helplessness. This fourth holy son truly deserved his title. Even his spiritual power was at the late stage of Earth Supreme. I'd love to see if you have the confidence to take my attack. Tong Dan's gaze darkened as he stared at Yuan. The vast ocean of spiritual energy behind him surged violently, with every wave of spiritual power strong enough to crush a beginner Earth Supreme. Boom! Above the surging ocean of spiritual energy, a massive whirlpool of energy formed. A primordial fluctuation, seemingly from ancient times, spread out, turning the world a withered yellow. Everything seemed to return to the ancient era. Primordial divine codex. Feeling the overwhelming ancient aura engulfing the heavens and earth, a deep sense of shock filled Yuan's face. The Primordial Divine Codex was a divine manual created by a supreme being from the ancient times. It recorded dozens of ancient divine techniques, each capable of destroying the world. Even Earth's supreme experts would be tempted by them. Moreover, these ancient divine techniques were not something ordinary people could learn. The Primordial Divine Codex was one of the saviors of heaven and earth during the World Annihilation War in the ancient era, second only to the 10 Supreme Dharmakayas. Some of the peak powerhouses at that time used the Primordial Divine Codex to deal heavy blows to the extraterritorial experts. However, as the World Annihilation War came to an end, the Primordial Divine Codex gradually faded into the world. Aside from a few ancient clans with the ability to reach the heavens who managed to preserve a few of the ancient divine techniques from the Codex, the other divine texts scattered throughout the world. As for their exact locations, no one knew. Among the ancient heaven-reaching Python clan, there were those fortunate enough to have preserved 2 of the ancient divine techniques from the Primordial Divine Codex. Of course, only those at the heavenly supreme level within the clan could cultivate such techniques. Now, a mere saint son, like Tong Dan, who was only at the late stage Earth Supreme, how could he possibly possess the Primordial Divine Codex? In the vast and surging spirit sea, the vortex of spiritual energy was growing ever larger, and the ancient fluctuations became even more intense. Over 100,000 miles away, a beam of light shot through the sky and stopped mid-air. Yin Yao, gazing at the scene before him, which resembled the destruction of the world, couldn't help but show a look of shock. Clearly, he hadn't known that Tong Dan possessed the Primordial Divine Codex. Boom!